Go, man. How are you keeping?
Very good. Can you hear me all good? Yeah.
It's like crisp. It's so good.
Excellent.
You are in your studio, brother, I see, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Do you ever leave?
Yes. On weekends. Yeah.
Oh, this is the week. I'm sorry to put you into work, back into the workspace, huh? Oh, man. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, man. And I had such a pleasure listening to Nostos last week. Our pick of the week. Was it week last week or the week ago? Fantastic album. Well done on that.
Thank you, man. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me for this. I've seen some of your previous work. I really love what you do. I tried to do something similar myself when this COVID situation kicked in, but I got busy working on the album, so I just let professionals do that work. So fair play to you for working with musicians and other artists. And yeah, thanks for the kind words about Gnostis as well.
No worries, man. No,
Really appreciate it.
it's absolutely my pleasure. I mean, I'm a dabbler of musician. I do a lot more kind of the live performance on. I'm a drummer, and but for me to listen to something like that, you know, on the production value side, it's just so amazing. The fact that you can do put all of this work together into one sort of entity, you know, and it's just it's amazing for me to hear final product like that, you know, and obviously it's a lot of hard work, so I really do respect that kind of work, you know. How has the creative process been for you actually in the last couple of weeks? Like you're saying, you're doing a bit of creativity side of things, but I guess, are you doing more promotion now for your recent album, or are you creating constantly?
I am actually gardening, working on gardening now.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Great. Great. Taking a break from the rest.
Yeah, it's like postpartum, like giving a birth to a big baby, and yeah, the promotion should have been the next step. I honestly put more promotional work into the two singles
Hmm.
that just came out before the album. I did some prep work before, but I was like, I'm just gonna take a break from all the marketing and all kind of to-do lists, which somebody tells you what you should do when you release the album, because
Mm.
the whole making of this album, it was a very personal kind of experience from on many layers, many
Hmm.
levels, and I just want to take a break from everything, and just settle down. It's first time for me to actually create an album, a big kind of 40 minutes cohesive piece which tells so many stories at the same time,
Mm.
and taking a break is good because I'm confused now what to do next. Obviously,
Mm.
I'm working in the background. I'm actually working on a few music videos for a couple of the songs from the album.
Hmm.
But for the past couple of weeks and for the next few weeks, I'm just gonna chill down. So I actually create myself a new space to start creating something new. I do have like many unfinished projects and something similar along those lines, but I just would take it easy.
Yeah, I totally get it. I mean, you need to sort of, it's good to have a sort of a brain rest, right? So you're doing something else, but you're sort of moving away from sort of the conventional routine, perhaps, right?
Exactly, yeah. Like even like procrastination, or even when you go to the gym, like the rest days are most important. So it might seem that I'm not doing anything, but I'm actually doing a lot in the background, like under the surface.
Mm.
So it's a good thing. But yeah, it was interesting thing creating the whole album. Like,
Please tell us a little bit about the story
well,
behind Nostos.
I'll tell you the story. Just before the story, I'm gonna focus on the whole thing about creating a big piece. And like we live in a digital era where we have a big competition as artists, especially in the digital era. When everything, any actually news lasts for a couple of seconds or days. When you release a single, the lifespan of your single is like 2 weeks max. So you either are left with option to multi-produce songs just to stay on the flick kind of surface, to be on people's radar, which is going to affect the quality, I think, because no human is able to mass produce. I was reading and following a good team of musicians and managers. This was about 3 years ago. Heroic, they're from Netherlands, so they're working with one EDM artist, future bass, something like that. I don't know if that means anything to you, doesn't even matter. I actually don't listen to that kind of music at all, but I admire people who kind of push the boundaries in finding new ways how to
Mm-hmm.
do things right. So they had a theory: if you release a single per month, and if you release a single, so let's say 2 weeks is a span of your single, and just you can even look at the graph, like in your Spotify or SoundCloud kind of stats. You release a single, everybody's listening to it, and kind of reach a high peak, and then it starts to die off. According to them, and I tried that with a few of my singles in the last couple of years, when that starts dying off, you start hyping your next single,
Mm-hmm.
and when you release it, you go with the next one, with the next one. So the how to bypass now the terms of quality. You need to take a break, let's say 5 or 6 months of releasing stuff, but actually sit and produce 5 or 6 really well produced songs.
Mm-hmm.
So that there's no compromise in quality, and you create yourself a buffer of half year.
Okay.
So I started doing that about 2 years ago, with ups and downs, because life gets in the way. And I actually wanted to do something similar with these songs. I had like 5, 6 songs. So originally I wanted to release them as singles and kind of follow this method. But then looking at the songs, I was like, they actually kind of really make sense together.
Mm.
Why wouldn't I release them as an EP? And now if I release an EP and I don't have a big following, it's just, you're lots of songs go to waste.
Sure.
From a marketing perspective, not from artistic. And I was like, what do? Should I kind of stay true to that marketing plan that I had and maybe compromise the artistic vision a little bit? And then I decided I'm just going to compromise the marketing thing, and I'm not even going to look in the numbers or be obsessed with the numbers, whether the album or EP is doing well or not. And just by following that, an EP of 5 songs became an album of 10 songs. Because then I was looking and I could see the gaps, and I sent that to a few people that I trust for feedback, which is good to have a fresh pair of ears
Of course.
on a whole subject. And I could see in between the lines that they were politely trying to tell me that there is something missing, you kind of need more. And I agreed, because I'm good, and it's good for everybody to be able to take a little bit of constructive criticism, and let ego aside. And I was like, yeah, they're right. And I agree with this, because I thought the same, but I was afraid to admit it to myself. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to sit and finish this. And the whole situation with the lockdown and lack of gigs, and there's no fear of missing out, because I have nothing to miss, nothing's happening, in for obvious reasons. So I actually use the time to really be productive and even come back to some of the songs, polish them up, write 2 or 3 new songs. And I ended up with the album, and pretty happy with that. So on the surface, because you asked me to tell you a bit more about the album, on the surface it kind of sounds like a love story. But then it doesn't end there, there's so many layers. I wouldn't go into really kind of one-to-one interpretation of explanation. What is it? Because, it's a piece of art. I would still like to leave that to personal interpretation for the listener. Everybody can feel or understand the album. It's very subjective, kind of.
Of course, yeah, and especially because a lot of it is obviously instrumentation, right? So there's a lot of kind of feeling involved, a lot of perhaps not non-tangible stuff. Is that kind of what sort of you'd agree upon? It's more so the kind of vibe of the tones and the melody that you're putting in to sort of construct perhaps an image or something, or is that just me just completely misunderstanding the point?
It is. This is the first time I was, not the first time actually, sorry, but we decided. But I was happy to be able to really express my emotion that I felt at the time when I was creating a song. So the song, not a single song was created, I have to do this for X or Y reason, because this is popular, or, whatever reason that has nothing to do with art. This was a pure, from a music perspective, pure artistic expression. We as an artist, we're normal people like everybody else. We're nothing special comparing to your normal human. Everybody's talented for something. Our talent is to be able to express our emotions through music, of variety of sorts, like whether you're like performing an instrument or playing very good at playing an instrument, or producing, or I don't know, like, or you can be a painter or sculptor. So I have the talent to be able to express my emotions through music. So all the melodies and everything, it was actually, I was trying to picture how I felt at the time, like any gritty synth that might be really piercing for the ears at sometimes. Like I actually had like interesting feedback from other people, like, yeah, you know, it's too harsh. The snare is maybe too harsh in some of the songs, or you could turn down the synth. And I was like, no, this is exactly, I want to, you know, like express how, you know, like something scratches my ear from the inside, you know, express the pain or happiness, or I don't know, just
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
kind of stronger emotion basically.
Yeah, it's
But
very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. For me, Apollotrosis was one of the songs that really resonated with me. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So,
I
um,
think you are, I actually don't know how to pronounce it.
oh, really? Yeah, it's great. But you had like kind of almost. I don't like comparing stuff, but I guess just for conversation purposes, and this is just anecdotal even. But there was kind of like a Middle Eastern kind of vibe, or there was some kind of essence in there that sort of resonated with me. And how do you sort of how do you come up with these sort of melodies, and do they naturally kind of come to you from I don't know, like absorption from the world or anything like that, because there's a lot of different kind of styles taken from there if you dissect it, I guess, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
differentiation. Is it something like from what you've heard before, or like from movies, or is it a big mix mash, and how
Well,
does that work?
I am originally from Serbia, southern part of Serbia. So we do have in uh, like that area is perfect example of blend of Eastern and Western culture. You know,
Hmm.
like through history, like I don't know, lots of civilizations were clashing at that point. So
Mm.
you have a big kind of stamp on the culture and music involved, like even like food or I don't know, architecture.
Mm.
So I grew up over there, and I was playing like lots of music like that. I was exploring lots of world music, playing different type of music from all different parts of the world, like Afro-Cuban, or I don't know, exploring jazz, lots of Western music. But then I was exploring lots of Eastern music as well, like, you know,
Hmm.
lots of Turkish music, lots of Azerbaijani music. An example, there's one lady, she's a virtuoso on piano, and she has like most insanely good voice I ever heard. Like I think her range is like 6 octaves. She can sing so deep
Wow.
and so high. Her name is Aziza Mustafa Zadeh. So you can Google her out, and she's like
Hmm.
blending jazz with traditional music of Azerbaijan. And she was playing like I think she lives in Germany at the moment. She was playing with top jazz players in the world. I think even in '92 she released an album with Dave Eckel on drums,
Wow,
and
I love Dave Weckl as a
John
drummer.
John
Yeah.
Patitucci on bass, like the whole that crew, which were
Mm.
like really big in the '90s. So they were actually her session musicians. Insanely good stuff. Like check that out whenever
Mm.
you can.
Oh, could you send
So
me the link actually to this?
I
Would that
actually
be?
will, yeah.
Oh, please do. Yeah, because I
A couple
just
of
it's crazy because I'm learning so much. There's so much music out there, and it's amazing. The more I speak to musicians, the more I find. But
yeah. So this is some like modern like blend of Eastern and Western culture in music,
mm,
like that I was listening. And I was really into that because I love world music, you know. And I was doing like lots of Serbian kind of native traditional music blended with again modern music,
mhm.
modern Western contemporary. And I was exploring that by playing like with just purely like different music, which was completely new to me, just in order to understand it better. Like I was playing like gypsy music, which is always odd time signatures. I actually don't know how to write those drum patterns or whatever. I was just learning it by ear. So I was playing on their weddings just to understand their culture as a community, their culture a bit more, and to understand the music. And it's interesting, like it's a whole philosophy, you know, the way rock and roll is a way of life, you know, drum and bass is
Sure.
a movement, it's not a genre. So this is as well. It's a way of life, you know. It's lots of bling. It's constant competition. Who drives a more expensive car? Who is a better musician? In a way, they're very competitive. Like we would compete. Am I better drummer than you're a keyboard player? You know,
Mm.
it's that kind of philosophy that they have. You
Sure.
know, so
Hmm.
I was like, this is very interesting. And when you listen to some of, I can send you those links as well.
Please send me everything.
Some gypsy music, which is constant. It's like a six-piece band, like orchestra. I don't know what it is.
Mm.
Everybody's soloing at the same time, like it's just solo galore, you know. Blah. But if you tune in, you will find a harmony in that chaos. Like it's
Hmm.
like jazz to somebody who doesn't listen to jazz. Like at the first, it's gonna be, what's this? It's just, you know, a mishmash of lots of sounds, and nothing makes sense. But once you get into it, it makes sense, and then jazz makes sense as well. You know,
Sure, sure.
it's just the roots are somewhere else geographically. You know.
And you study, you were self-taught, were you? And by absorbing music as you say you have, or did you study a
Yeah,
little bit as well?
no, I didn't study at all.
Mm.
I'm totally self-taught. I wanted
Awesome.
to study, but I never had money. Like there was a jazz academy in Vienna, in not in Vienna, sorry, in Austria, in Graz, that I wanted to go to, but I didn't have money, and I couldn't leave the country because of visa restrictions and stuff like that. So I gave up on that. But you know, like I am a resilient person, so I find a way how to do what I want to do.
Mm.
And then just kind of circle back on your question, where is everything in those melodies and those oriental stuff coming in my
Hmm.
music? Yeah, just by exploring lots of music and by writing, they would always kind of show up on the surface. So I kind of figured out that it looks like that is my signature. You know, you can't create a tone of your own or signature. It just happens once you create millions of songs and you start spotting patterns. So this is
Mm.
why I spotted after, I don't know, almost 20 years of playing music.
Okay, so it naturally surfaced these kind of elements and tones and patterns after years of just constantly creating, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
this
interesting.
because you know you can't. There's a good thing, you know, when you hear a first note, when you can recognize a band or a musician, first tone on any instrument like
Sure.
guitar or something, you know, yeah, that's
Mm.
X or Y guitar player, you know. And if you try, I mean, all of us strive for that signature. You know, drummer, as a drummer, your signature would probably the way you tune your snare,
Mm.
because you know that's the only individual thing that you can have on a drum kit in terms of fitting that in a bigger picture, you know. But then as a producer, as a song maker, um, how do you do that? And if you try to do that, you're gonna fail because you can't fake that.
Or it's hard to force it. It's you
Yeah,
can't
you
fake and
just,
it's
yeah,
hard to
exactly.
force. Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't force it.
totally.
So you know, I, I always want, all of us musicians want to have that, but you know, that's actually the key, the biggest battle, the philosophy. How do we get there? You know,
Mm.
like and I figure out the more you create, it's just gonna show up itself. You know, so yeah, after I don't know how many songs I wrote in my life, way less than I released, obviously. But then I started spotting patterns, you know, and I was like, okay, let's focus on those, you know. So now it just naturally comes out. I was worried at one point because you know, obviously, I live in a western part of Europe now, whether that's going to be interesting to people or not. But then, you know, there's another person over there talking to me. Ego, which is going to try to protect you and keep you on the surface by telling you that yeah, you need to follow the trends, you need
Mm.
you need to make music that people want to listen to, and you're just compromising your art. And I was like, fuck this, you know, don't want to do it.
Mm.
No, it's a big challenge, you know, to
Hmm.
just not compromise your art.
Of course, yeah, yeah. There's almost like I wonder if there is a balance that one can find, but then there's also there is that conflict. It is a conflict, and I've heard it between from musicians, even recently having interviews and what their perspective is and how do they resolve that conflict, and how do they settle on being able to perhaps make a sacrifice whichever way they go. Do they sacrifice their actual self-expression to conform to whatever the consensus is at the moment, with regard to music style or modes of release, as we're talking about, or do they sacrifice that for the hopes of getting, or is there a balance as well? I wonder. But for me, I what I felt from your album is I felt that was something that I haven't heard at all on this side. And that's what you were thinking, is like, oh, that's something that nobody, but it is. And that's why I loved it. That's what pulled me towards it. That's why when I first saw your post on Facebook, because I've seen your, I know I'm kind of moving on a little sidetrack here, but I seen your post with Djollie. I heard your song, with her originally. That's how I kind of got to know Wob. That's how I sort of got introduced to you. And then I think I added you as a friend or whatever. We connected on Facebook. That was the first step. You know what I mean? And then I saw whatever it was, Golden Pleck or somebody sharing. Was it Nyla or not? I can't remember who shared it. And I was like, oh my God, here we go. And then I listened to it and was like, this is fantastic. And it resonated with me as a sort of person that, tends to listen into the music industry in Ireland and in Europe. And for me, it was refreshing to hear something like that, because I would like similar stuff. I don't want to compare you to any artists that I have heard in Relate, because it's not comparable, but there were some hints in my brain that I was already used to hearing, similar things. So I felt it almost related to kind of my style, but I knew it didn't exist in this, musical dimension or something.
I mean, like, it's music. Like, I didn't invent the wheel. Nobody's reinventing the wheel again. But it's good. Like, music is, I think it's been played. I think everything that it's possible to be played, it's done already. So I think the next step in creativity is how to combine that things that already exist and create something new out of it. So especially when I'm getting involved in electronic music, where especially drum and bass, where everything is a sample kind of base, sample culture. You take somebody else's piece of work and create something new. Like, even on this album, there's millions of things that I sampled. My favorite records, sounds, other people I was recording. Like, millions of those kind of hidden Easter eggs that is probably going to take me like 3 years to explain, and it doesn't even matter. That's kind of my personal story, personal experience, personal aha moment. Anytime I'm going to listen to this album like 10 years down the road, for the listener probably doesn't even matter. But sampling is a very interesting thing. But it's all about combining new things. I like to combine genres as well. This is where combining influences comes from too, like different, Eastern or Western influences in terms of music. I think it's refreshing. I was worried a little bit, like, whether this is going to be accepted over here. But then on the other side, as you said, like, there's probably not many people playing something like this. So there might be a curious ear to just give it a chance, So I'm okay. I'm happy the way it sounds, and that I think is the most important thing, Awesome. Once I'm happy with it and I really believe in what I work, then I think, there's nothing fake in there. So,
That's
if somebody genuinely likes it, great. If not, it's a subjective experience, like, hard feelings.
100%. Yeah. Do you do much, I guess before the quarantine, do you do much, like, or did you, like, live stuff? DJing, I guess, was one thing, but did you do much of that? Or was it more in the studio that you were focused?
Not a lot DJing. Actually, like, are you asking me just for Wob or me as a musician?
I guess both. Yeah, because I didn't see any. I might have passed a live performance of yourself. I'm not sure if I might be mistaking it, but was that something that you did sort of before the quarantine?
Yeah, like, actually I was kind of stuck working on this thing, so it was more studio work. Because, it's only me and it's one-man operation when I do, like, everything the full team of people are supposed to do. Of course, I'm not alone in this. Every single musician today is, like, doing the same thing. You're your own PR agent, your own musician, your own studio owner, mix mastering engineer, whatever. Like, there's lots of people who are doing that too. But it's time consuming, so I don't know. And end of last year, I was probably in the studio kind of working on that. Before that, I was playing, like, when I started the band, this band was, it was a band when we started. It was a three-piece. We started about 2013, and it was experimental kind of vibe. Like it doesn't sound anything like it sounds today. Basically, I wanted to start a live drum and bass band, and I wanted to start exploring electronic music. I was totally new to that then. So it was three of us, like a guitar player with millions of guitar pedals, with two cases, a synth player, and myself on drums. And it was just, evolving from there up to the point where is it now. We didn't release anything because I didn't believe in releases. I don't know, at that time. This was like 7 years ago. Because, I'm a generation where one industry crashed, like the old school of how the things are done with labels and records and everything else. And then the internet revolution, and I was somewhere in between where I spent lots of time learning the old model, and then shit, what's happening?
And then it's changed.
Model. Yeah, and somebody who's born like 10 or 15 years after me, they just are born in the new way, and of course
that's what they know.
Yeah, and that's like a little bit easier for them. So at that point, I didn't want to release anything. I just want to focus on live gigs and on the live videos. So like we released 3 videos before we had a first gig even, we just released 3 songs. Each of us wrote a song, so that was kind of a showcase. They actually were performing really well, like all of them, like over, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 views on YouTube, like in the early days. And then we got lots of gigs, lots of festivals, like all the top festivals in Ireland, and it was going really good. But then, the way we were changing things, and again, sampling culture, I actually made an album, 1 hour material, sampling Brazilian music, all the samba, bossa nova, all the cool stuff from the 60s, combining that with drum and bass. But I couldn't release that because, I can't clear the samples. I was just using somebody else's song, like. So that's not really. So basically, after a few years of working, like really busy on the live scene, just gigs and festivals, or everything high profile, big following as well. We didn't release anything, and then somebody likes you, the gig, wants to check you online, and there's nothing new, nothing fresh.
Sure.
So there are things, but they're not representative of who we were as a band at a given point where they saw us. And this is where I kind of decided, okay, how about we start producing? So then we started doing some music videos, ended up where we're now. So basically, Wob is just me personally evolving as a musician in electronic music. So it changes shape and form, but it's pretty much the same thing. But live element is like a very big part of that. Like end of last year, I had a 4-piece band. We did Knock and Stock and a couple of festivals like that around the country. Electric Picnic, I don't know, Fantastival, I don't know, all the festivals, not many festivals in the country basically. But then from the start of this year, I decided to give it a go as a one-man show, because I do play a few instruments, and I didn't want to just, I was playing drums mostly, and I just want to try myself out on stage by doing many things, And then it's very hard from other people in a band to expect like a big commitment when they're playing songs that I produced, especially like at that period, because there was lots of songs, We didn't have time to sit and write songs together. Like there's no problems with that. But then at the same time, I can't expect somebody to really be passionate about it the way I am, because I wrote the songs. And I was like, I'm just going to try to play keyboards, synths, guitar, bass, flute, I don't know, whatever, controlling even the visuals in real time while I'm doing and running around the stage.
Live.
So I had live, and I had a couple of gigs
crazy,
like that.
Man.
It was a great experience, like really sweaty and rewarding experience. So this was my kind of thing for this year, and I think I did like 3 gigs maybe or 4, and then the whole thing exploded, and I was like, okay, might as well finish the album then.
That's brilliant. I mean, that's fairly crazy. I never heard someone here kind of taking upon that sort of task where you're multitasking to that extent live as well. I thought I had it hard, multitasking this little podcast thing, but doing something like that on stage, I mean, sounds crazy. Do you have any footage of that?
I do. Mobile phone footage, nothing special. I can send it over to you.
Oh, please do. I'd love to send. I'd love to watch that. Should we play a song? I know you said you don't your sound doesn't work for live, but should we play a video or something maybe from yourself Is there?
Uh, we can
I
actually fix.
I can do
I
it on
fix
my
this as
end.
well.
Oh, it's up to
Yeah,
you. Yeah. Mm.
do it in your end. Yeah, let's play. Let's play something. What do you want to play?
I don't know, man. There's a lot to choose from. There was how about well, okay. Do you want me to pick it, or do you have something on your mind
Well,
with regard to our conversation?
if you if you are you gonna pull it from YouTube or what? Like,
Yeah, I think I'll do a video maybe because I've played the full. I played. I actually extended my podcast last week. Was it last week? The
huh?
week before, and played like 6 songs from your album.
Oh, thanks.
I just kept playing them because I was just. It was the end, and sometimes at the end I just don't feel like finishing. And there was a few people still on, and I was like, let's just listen to more of this album. So I feel maybe I would like to give somebody maybe a music video of yourself because you have
Yeah,
some great
do a
ones.
music video if you want. You can play higher. Uh, this I mean it's old stuff, but it's cool video. Like recorded in April 2017 in Portugal. So it's kind of summery vibes. That's a collab with Eric Cody I did then, and sound wise, like the whole story I'm doing evolved a lot since.
Mhm.
But yeah, I have a crazy story about that music video. So yeah,
Oh,
we can
great!
put it on if you want.
If we get a story as well, that's always a bonus. Amazing. Yeah. So higher feet, Erica Cody. Okay, cool. Let's do it. Awesome, absolutely awesome. That was Wob with Higher featuring Erica Cody, and that was shot in the Algarve, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Uh,
beautiful.
it's a lovely place. Like I figure out again, the thing we were talking earlier, trying to find your signature in music and stuff. I kind of noticed that in life in general, I really love summer, seaside, sunshine.
Mm,
And it always kind of drew me that direction. So I have a mini plan for the last, I don't know, few years. I really wanna end up and settle somewhere, like get a house next to the beach, open next to the sea, like open a studio and create like a creative hub where all the musicians I ever encountered in, or artists, or basically all the good people, regardless of occupation, kind of create a creative hub where all of them are welcome to come and visit, chill out, and networking. I don't know, maybe create something or not. It doesn't matter. So that's my kind
mm.
of plan for the next few years. I'm probably gonna head either to Spain or Portugal because that's the closest from here.
Yeah.
And yeah, I played with so many people that and met so many creatives in my life, and I know that all of us need a little bit of escape from reality and from concrete and from clouds.
For sure, for sure, for so many reasons as well.
Yeah.
But that's beautiful. Yeah. So were you there for the video shoot? Were you for
So
this song
basically,
for Hire?
how that happened. It was so April. Like what are we now? March. Like yeah. So the weather is as miserable as it is now, and I get an email from Ryanair, like 20 euro flights to Portugal. I was like, hold on, if I bring a crew of 5, 6 people, that's gonna be $100 for flights. So my creative brain started thinking. Blah, blah, blah. So I worked out the budget. I sourced out a film crew. Very intense work. Like within 1 month, I was even talking to local film crews and guys from
Mm,
here. So I interviewed a couple of people over here. uh, it ended up being too corporate. Like, yeah, why don't we do it here? And then, again, everything messing up with my artistic vision. Basically, what I wanted to do was use the opportunity to create something that it's not that expensive to create. You can make a
mm,
video that looks like, I don't know, tens, thousands of euro with a couple
yeah.
hundred euros. And I was like, I just want to do this. I want to do it over there because I want to do it like somewhere when it's actually summer right now. So I
Mm,
want to release a song over here before the summer, just because it feels cool.
sure. Yeah.
And yeah, I was talking to a couple of people, and then I had a meeting with Crook Gentlemen. Maybe you heard of them. They actually created like lots of amazing videos for lots of artists over here. And I like their attitude a lot. Like I just told them, look, this is what I want to do. What's your budget? Budget is like very kind of modest.
Hmm.
Cover expenses. I'll give you a few quid, and they're like, "Fuck yeah, we'll do it." And I was like, "Yes, I'll do that." Because like I approached some companies. Yeah, we need like I don't know tens of thousands of euros to pull it off
Yeah.
and stuff. And I was like, "Yeah, okay, fair enough. We need to pay." But I'm not a company. Like, I'm an artist trying
Mm,
to do something. And you're not that big, to be honest, as well. You're just living in a different kind of industry when you can milk corporations for money. So, like, how about we help each other out? And, all due respect to them, if that's the way they work, I have nothing against that. It's just,
mm,
I want to find somebody on my length wave. And I found the guys like Sean Ryan was like, fuck yeah, I'll come with you.
that's brilliant.
And
Wow.
we went over there. It was like a great experience, like, I basically want to showcase how easy it is for, anybody to just go over there and have a bit of fun, come back. The style of music is a little bit of kind of commercial side of pop. I
Hmm.
kind of tried to do that. It's not produced by me. I still wasn't producing any music
Oh,
then.
okay. Okay.
I mean, produced was production. I wrote the song with the guy who was playing in a band with me then, Steven. It was two of us.
Hmm.
We wrote the song, but it's still kind of all the rock and roll kind of vibe. You create a song, but then you go to studio, somebody records you, mix for you, send it to mastering and stuff. But this is when I realized how you really need to understand electronic music in order to mix it and master it properly.
Mm.
And like it sounds okay. I still hear some mistakes that I would totally do differently, but this is why I decided, okay, I'm actually gonna sit, make myself a studio, and start learning production. So basically, from that moment when that video was recorded up to now, I was working like on my kind of production skills, basically. So,
Okay,
yeah.
amazing. So the
What was
studio,
that like 2 years, 3 years? Like
3 years. So the studio's kind of a new thing for you. Like this, the studio you're in is your relatively newly built studio, right?
yeah,
Hmm.
relatively new. Like I don't know, 3 years since then, and
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
because like I have like I was when I moved over here in Ireland 2007, like I couldn't start creating music right away because I was well, I just came from a different, I don't know, different circuit of people, of influences, of everything, so you can't just show up somewhere and start making music.
Like it's a different mentality too, right?
Yeah,
And
you
social
need to you
behaviors
need to
and
figure
things.
out what's going on around you,
You
like
need to absorb.
yeah, we can move, like anybody from here can move to Germany, like everything is okay, but you can't just start a band, you need to
Mm.
get familiar with surroundings, like how people think, talk,
Sure. The
just get
customs.
yeah, get the general vibe, so I
Mm.
was playing in lots of punk bands and touring with lots of punk bands when I was in Serbia, touring like uh, lots of gigs, and it kind of made sense with my life there. It's very rebellion kind of music and songwriting and everything.
Mm.
Then I moved over here, and then I figured out there's no point of me starting a band. So I was like, I'm just gonna join a band and work as a session drummer. So I was working as a session drummer for I don't know, like 3 years. It took me like good 4 or 5 years playing with other people until I really got the vibe and
Mm-hmm.
kind of felt free to maybe create something new and contribute to the society over here with to the community, basically, with whatever I have to bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't ready to do that before that point, because you kind of need to get familiar with the new place. So when I started that, obviously, then the whole session drumming took a break, but then the production side
Increased or
increased.
began.
Yeah, because
Mm.
I started playing drums 20 years ago, so it's lots of years of drumming as well. It just gets old. I want to do something. I mean, I still love drums. I still play drums, but
Yeah.
like it's cool to requalify yourself
Oh, totally, man. No, I know what you
from time to
mean.
time.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
not
the
to
same,
just
bro. I'm a drummer. I'm drumming a little less than you, 14 years. And obviously, with the quarantine, I'm not drumming anymore. I've been in a lot of cover projects, tribute projects and
yeah.
things here, and I manage them all. But now, obviously, it's not happening. So I haven't touched the drums in, whatever, 2 months,
Can you
three probably.
play in the place where you live over
No,
there?
I'm renting, and I have a neighbor right next to me, so
Yeah.
they're lovely. But I can't, obviously, out of respect, you can't be playing a loud instrument. It's a little bit disrespectful.
Yeah.
So I used to, when I was living in my original house. But yeah, poor neighbors, have to suffer with that. It's the loudest instrument you're ever going to play. Like,
I know, I know.
you
I
know,
only find out about ear protection very late, to be
yeah,
honest.
me too, man. Me too. I don't think I ever wore ear protection because I never liked drowning out those frequencies because you lose a little bit, unless you buy maybe the expensive ones. But I never wanted to invest.
Just the time when I got used to it, I start playing electronic music and I'm playing to a click, so that goes down the drain right
Oh,
away because you have the
yeah.
loudest tack tack tack.
Yeah, you have to. It probably deafens you more than the drum kit, right? That
Yeah, exactly.
high pitch frequency. What
It's
instrument did
funny.
you start playing? Like, what was the instrument you begin? Did you begin with the drums or?
Well, a difficult question. Yeah, I suppose professionally drums. Yeah,
Mm,
but before that, I always had talent for like music and interest and everything. It just didn't work out. The way it kind of
mm,
works out with parents. Sometimes it goes backwards. Sometimes you have
mm,
a supportive parents. Sometimes you have parents who want to complete their dreams through you.
mm,
So
mm,
I want to play a violin when I was 3. Uh, and I was like, with my parents, we were in some kind of shop, and I saw a violin on top shelf, and I was like, "Yeah, give me this." My mom kind of wanted to go buy it. My dad was like, "Yeah, it's very expensive. What if he breaks it?" And then like nothing is gonna happen after that. So it didn't work out. Then he bought me a guitar for as a present for my sister. and she didn't have any interest. Then I started messing with the guitar, but like I, again, no teacher or no sense of how to do this, but I started soloing on one string by ear and started playing some songs. So guitar could be probably the first real instrument that I tried. But then I started going to gigs. I caught the first pair of drumsticks on some concert, drum sticks. So I had them. So it was, usual stuff, pots and pans and pillows. But I smack everything around the house, and I started playing along with Metallica's, I don't know, album, like what, Master of Puppets, and did play. It was totally kind of shit. But with the time where I kind of start learning, I could see how I understood the songs and I can dissect the songs better, and then I started visualizing, because I still never had a chance to go like and sit on a proper drum kit, but I started visualizing how does it look like from the other end, So we're talking about time before internet, where you can't really Google and get an answer to any question. You need to figure out yourself. So I actually visualized everything, like the mechanism, how to close and open the hi-hat, the kick drum pedal, everything. The only thing I couldn't figure out was the snare stand. That was always like, like,
yeah.
How do you do this? Because it was hidden, anytime you watch a video, that's the only thing you can't really see.
Like the position, because it's kind of between your legs, right?
It's more like the mechanism, like the mechanics, the physics behind it, like how does he hold it? But it doesn't matter, But basically, I kind of figured everything out. In the first time I sat behind a drum kit, I could play a bit. So it was already there.
Oh, that's amazing! Yeah.
From there on, I could do rats. I could open the hi-hat and everything.
Yeah.
And from there on, the more you play, the more you kind of learn, I suppose. And still love drums. They're the best instrument ever.
Yeah, for live, like, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's a beautiful form of expression when you're playing in front of people on the drum kit, right?
Yeah, and like different dynamics that you can approach the drum kit with, even not by using different tools like brushes or sticks, like even just having a pair of drumsticks. You can express yourself in so many different ways, and then just by listening to some really kind of mellow songs or some really aggressive punk or metal, you get the idea when you're a drummer, for other people who are not musicians. But and then just by hanging out with musicians, having access to other instruments like guitar, bass, harmonica, basically, I think if I lock myself in a room for about 2 weeks with an instrument, I can play it.
Yeah.
Same like foreign languages. Once you learn one, every next language is easier to learn, I suppose. And I think that applies to all of the musicians. I don't think I met a person who can play at least 2 or 3 instruments.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be really good. If you can find your way around it for a little bit, that's just enough.
There's a curiosity, I guess, with artistic people. They like to try a lot of things, and even if it mightn't resonate with them, I find that artistic people. I mean, I think, was it somebody mentioned today? I don't know if it was you or because we're at the end of the show, so there's so much information being absorbed today. But that everybody obviously has artisticness to them. It's just it's like practicing, right? It's like repetitiveness, or it's like a tool that you use, just like conversation. You practice and you can get better at it. But art people that practice art regularly, music in whatever way, painting or music or anything that's kind of creative, they tend to have a more curiosity to things. They'll pick up different instruments or any just general curiosity, which is interesting. And I kind of like that. I like curious people.
But it works this way. Let's kind of break it down for people who are not musicians and who are watching this. Like, art is a way to express your emotions, as I kind of mentioned earlier. Any form of art. Music, for me, is a way to express my emotions. So how can I tell a story if I'm not physically able to tell you? So I need to practice. So in terms of people who are not musicians, I think the easiest way to understand this is like, you can express yourself by speaking. You can speak. But then you need to learn grammar. You need to learn the language first, then the grammar. Then you need to learn how to write. The better you get at those things, like a difference between me and you and a writer who can write, like, I don't know, poetry or books or something, is probably different, because they were practicing that skill, and they can really express their emotion through words in a way. If you play music, the more you practice any instrument, you're just technically going to be better to express yourself into really fine detail. The more you practice, the more fine detail you're gonna be able to express to people. And I even figured out that's applicable in production as well. Because when I mention production, I don't mean production is a kind of like financial way where you kind of produce and source things. It's more like working, you being a composer and working with music software where you have a chance to really decompose everything to the finest detail and maybe to the sound design and mix that. So I figure out the more I got better at that, the more I can go into subtle details and really kind of tell a story by reducing something by half a decibel or pushing it forward and backward. Basically, when I'm creating a song, you have your close your eyes, you have your left and right, but then how to create the depth, the third kind of dimension space, by placing something really close in your face or further away. So you're actually creating a 3D space around you, filled with sounds. Close your eyes and you can actually see everything moving, coming to you or away from you. And it's an interesting way to express, and this is why I really got into production. It's a totally new way for me to express myself, and it's really cool because I'm not good at it as I'm good at drums. So I like a little bit of a challenge. So it just challenged me to learn more and more. Not that I learned everything I could on drums, but you just got old at one point.
Yeah.
A bit more interesting.
It can be like chapters as well in our lives, as long as there's some form of like expression. It's quite healthy, and I'm glad you mentioned as well for people as well, of course, that are not or wouldn't consider themselves to be creative or musicians. I mean, all it does take is to pick up something, whatever it is, and just to let it go naturally, whatever it is. If it's you buy a canvas and just start painting with no intention almost, or you pick up a guitar and just start strumming a little bit at the start, and then you can get all technical.
Yeah.
The start is always difficult to actually go out and first take that first step sometimes, right? It depends, what kind of person you are, of course. But yeah, it's very
natural. I believe that everybody has or have talent for something.
For sure.
Regardless, it doesn't have to be art, but at the same time, everything is art. You expressing yourself is art. You can be creative in the kitchen by making some food. You can be creative by talking to people, like millions of things.
I think we lost. Oh no, we have you back. We lost your video for a second.
Sorry, that's just me. I was experimenting. I'm a half man, half experiment. I'm actually using my mobile phone.
Oh, you're using it as a camera, yeah.
And I downloaded an app, and it's misbehaving now and then. So I'm sorry if I'm glitching.
That's okay. Yeah. Can I could talk to you for quite a while, Djollie. It's been a pleasure talking to you, man. Is there anything you'd like to close off on before we finish? Because we could talk for another 5 hours, to be honest. But maybe we'll leave it. We could do a separate segment down the line.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm first going to try to fix my camera.
And guys at home, if you have any questions for us as well, do send them in. Don't be shy. You can communicate with us. And if you have any questions for Djollie or myself, you're more than welcome to ask us.
I've nothing special to say. I'd like to thank you for calling me. Really enjoyed the conversation with you. I'd like to thank everybody who were watching and listening to us. I don't know, you can enjoy yourself while you still can. I don't know, in terms of situation where we are now in with this lockdown and stuff. Stay positive. Don't think that you're missing out on anything. You're not missing out on anything. It's probably just a good time to reflect back and change your routine a little bit. I noticed when this happened, I actually had a chance to connect with lots of people that I didn't have a chance to connect before, because all of us were so busy and self-focused and stuff. So I don't know, I see this as a positive experience, so.
Awesome. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I think it's definitely good to look at the positive And I know at the beginning it might have been quite shocking for a lot of people, you know, because it's something that we've never had to face in the modern
Yeah.
world. But I think people have kind of found, you know, found sort of an acceptance in sort of the reality we have now, how temporary it may be, which it has to be temporary, right? This is not going to last forever. But there is a silver lining to everything, and it's great to have musicians and artistic people expressing themselves through the online technology that we've been, you know, we were lucky to have, right? So it's awesome, and you released your album at the most perfect time, I think, you know, to keep people entertained
Yeah,
a little bit.
it was a good chance to like circle back, finish it, release. In terms of that album, I'm actually working on a collaboration with well, yeah, that's actually interesting thing relation to the album and COVID. So I got approached by one guy who lives in Kerry. He's a film producer, and he is limited with options to work at the moment. You know, because you can't work with people, you can't travel.
Hmm.
So we are kind of remotely working on a music video for one of the songs from the album.
Awesome.
Source some local actors, figure out. Actually, he drew down a really good concept, which kind of works with the whole idea of the album. So that's basically the next thing you can expect.
Oh, brilliant! That's the next thing coming out from you. Is there an ETA, an expected sort of release date?
Few weeks, maybe
Few
less
weeks.
than a month, something like that.
Perfect, brother.
Yeah,
Listen,
still
yeah.
keeping productive, still staying true to my core of collaborating with other people. You know, so there you go. I'm collaborating with a filmmaker from Kerry.
Amazing, amazing. Listen, Jolly, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you, chatting to you, and I look forward to hopefully, well, meeting you in the physical world sooner than later.
Likewise, yeah. Thank you so much for calling me. Thanks to everybody for listening, and yeah, I'll speak to you soon.
Awesome, brother. Take care of yourself. See ya.
Take care. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in and staying tuned in, or anybody that just tuned in recently. That was my conversation with Djollie Wob, Wob with an exclamation mark, and you can find him on Facebook, YouTube. Some of his fantastic music videos, some which have been used by some pretty big names, and his music is quite interesting, and I resonate with it really well. I think it's really really cool music. Nostos, his album, which was released only about 2 weeks ago, I think, was album of the week for us last week. Paul Archibald reviewed it, so I definitely recommend you guys to check that out.